Welcome to Khaas Mulakaat. I'm your host, Sonia West, and today in the studio we have Mike Jong. He is known for being a part of the community, a part of British Columbia. For the last 30 years, he's dedicated his life to service leadership in British Columbia. And today we're going to talk to him about some of the things that are happening in the community. Maybe there's something we have to question, the process, and so on and so forth. He was elected MLA. In 1994, he served key roles including Attorney General, Minister of Health, Minister of Finance, Minister of Indigenous Relations. He's advocated for justice, healthcare, and he's been crucial in shaping roles that impact our communities. So a warm welcome for Mike Jong.
Sonia, great to be on the program.
Yes, it's so good to see you. You've done so much. I mean, 30 years is a long time, and you've been so dedicated. As we did see, when you had that press conference not too long ago, we got to see you really relate to the community and the whole community, not just South Asian community, but everybody. And they all received you so warmly.
It has been a long time, but it's been an enjoyable time. And what a gift to be able to develop that rapport, to be able to get to know people, to be able to learn. Right. That's the part of this that is the most gratifying of all, when you can help a family, but when you can learn about people's lives.
Right. Thank you from everyone for all of the things that you've done over all these 30 years, the last 3 decades, and obviously in the future. I mean, once you're in that game, you just got to keep going with politics, right? Despite the 30 years of your dedication, the Conservative Party had declined your application for nomination for the Abbotsford South Langley area. And since then, we've got Sukhman Singh Gill, who secured the Conservative Party nomination for Abbotsford South Langley. That was quite a shock for you because you weren't really given any kind of a reason for being disqualified. What happened?
Yeah, I'd be kidding if I didn't say it was disappointing.
Yeah.
A year and a half ago, the Conservative Party approached me, invited me to become involved, said, look, you'll be a great candidate. You've got experience. You've got parliamentary experience, all those roles that you've talked about. And a year ago, I said, okay.
Yes.
And I understood. Politics is about democracy, competition. Didn't take anything for granted, and entered the nomination race. We had volunteers, some incredible volunteers who dedicated their entire life.
Yes.
And young people.
Yes.
And to be told 3 days before the vote, thanks but no thanks, no reasons given.
You were told 3 days before the vote.
3 days before the vote. And Sonia, maybe the most perplexing part of this is when the local group of Conservatives and their riding association interviews the prospective candidates and says, okay, Mike Jong, we are recommending you to the people in Ottawa unanimously as qualifying, and you should be on the ballot for people to choose from.
Yes.
And someone else, the eventual winner, they unanimously recommend that he shouldn't be on the ballot. Now, you'd have to ask them why. I don't know why.
Right.
But then some guy or someone in Ottawa says the opposite and really takes away the right of local people to decide who their candidate is going to be. So
the consensus was that you were going to be the nomination probably for that area, and then now we've seen that it's been Sukhman Gill.
Well, what we know for certain is that over the course of a year, my team and I had recruited thousands, literally thousands of people to the Conservative Party who wanted to support me, who wanted me to be their candidate.
Yes.
And at the very last minute, the Conservative Party said, no, you're not, and offered an excuse that most people find a bit odd and a bit difficult to accept, by saying, we don't think you're qualified.
To you? Wait a second, let me just check my notes again, because I'm pretty sure you've got 30 years of dedication and service to British Columbia. So how is that even, how can they say that to you? That doesn't make any sense to me.
It sounds like someone's not telling the truth. It sounds like something else was going on. It's difficult to reconcile that statement with the person they did ultimately approve, who is 24 or 25 years old and has virtually no experience. Look, I think it is really, really crucial for young people to get involved.
Right.
I think, but, and the hardest part about this whole thing, Sonia, has been those 16, 17, 18-year-olds who have worked all year with me, who come to me and say, how can this happen?
Yes.
And their whole approach and their faith in the democratic process is shattered because I can't give them an answer. I can't tell them why a major political party said to a fellow with 30 years experience, you're not qualified.
You can't tell them because they didn't tell you.
Exactly.
You have no real clear information.
Exactly.
And to be told just a few days before the vote, that is crazy because we attended your rally and you were so loved by everybody there. You know, it was great to see the diverse communities there, but you're supported. I was laughing, you know, with you about how there's the Dutch community that was there, and then we've got the South Asian community, and everybody was just having such a nice time. And I thought that is what Canada should be, having all the communities together. And then when you got up on stage and you talked about all the communities, and you made references to every community, it was a beautiful thing. So why would they say to you, you know, you're just not qualified?
I'm not able to answer because the only people that know that is some group of anonymous folks in Ottawa. But the principle, and this is way more important than Mike DeYoung, any individual. The principle is, in our democracy, do we want local people to select who their candidates are going to be and who they're going to elect into public office? Or is it going to be some person in Ottawa telling local people who their candidate is going to be? And I prefer, and I thought we lived in a democracy where that right existed for people locally.
Right, so then I have a question for you. Isn't it a voting process? When someone's being nominated, isn't it votes? So it should be a fairly straightforward process. You vote and you get your person in. So how come, what am I missing here?
I'll tell you what we're missing, and that is a fair process. Look, as you pointed out, I've been around a while.
Yeah.
I've been in lots of electoral battles.
Yeah.
I've won most of them, haven't won them all.
Yeah.
I've lost some.
Okay.
That is part of the exercise. That is democracy. You win some, you lose some. But to be told at this stage that you're not qualified to be on the battlefield,
right,
that I have difficulty accepting.
I think what I'm understanding is you're saying, you know, I'm happy to lose if that's what the people want.
Yeah.
But if the people want you there, why wouldn't you be there? So are you saying that maybe there is something not accurate about the voting system?
Well, I of course wasn't involved. I've heard all kinds of stories about problems and shenanigans, but I wasn't there. I wasn't there to see what took place. I've heard allegations made by others. I've heard that many people were disqualified. I know this: the successful candidate received in the neighborhood of 1,100 or 1,200 votes. We had over 2,000 people waiting to vote for us, and they never got the chance.
Okay.
So the suggestion that there was some kind of deal cut to facilitate a particular person, well, they had to get rid of the guy that was in the way.
Right.
And they appear to have done that.
When you say that people were waiting to vote and they didn't get the chance, what does that mean?
Well, when their candidate was disqualified 3 days before their interest in the exercise disappeared.
So then that's that, just like that.
And that, again, I have no difficulty looking into the eyes of supporters, as I've had to do a couple of times, and say, look, we came up a little short. Yeah. And by the way, congratulations to the winner.
Right.
Because that's also part of it.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
But when chicanery and shenanigans take place and you're not even provided with the opportunity to compete, well, I don't see that as a valid exercise.
Right. You at least want to know the reason.
Yeah.
When I was doing research to figure out how to, talk about the intro of who you are, I thought, wow, 30 years is a long time. And there's all these things. There's actually some stuff I didn't even mention because it was such a lengthy list. Congratulations to you for all of those things. But I was trying to research the other person, so Sukhman Gill, and I really didn't see anything. There was actually nothing. And nothing against him. I don't have a side. I'm not taking a side. But based on just the research as a journalist, I couldn't find any information.
Yeah, and I think that's what puzzles people and frustrates people to say to a guy like me, you don't have the qualifications necessary, and you think to yourself, okay, well, clearly the person they approve must possess something that I am missing.
Right.
but it is difficult for a reasonable person to understand how it is that person was better qualified than me. And again, I say the essence of our democracy is a fair competition.
Yes.
Is to give people a choice. And I applaud a young person. I applaud a young person who wants to get involved. I got involved as a young man. I ran for the school board when I was in my mid-20s and served in my early 30s, ran as an MLA. So I'm not going to criticize anyone for taking that step. I'm going to applaud them.
Right.
But I am going to ask of the people who administer these exercises to do so fairly, to be honest with people, and to give local people the opportunity to make their choice.
Right, their voice needs to be heard. What kind of recourse do you have now that this is, he's won that nomination, so what can you do? Is there anything?
Well, the short answer within the Conservative Party is none. We filed the requisite appeal, and I'm told that was considered in about 5 or 10 minutes at a hearing.
Okay.
The die was cast. So that's, the Conservative Party has made their choice. They don't want to talk about it. Whoever the leadership group that I think is poorly advising the leader. I think these problems apparently have cropped up elsewhere, maybe not in the same graphic way as here, but there is no more recourse within the Conservative Party, which is a shame.
Yes.
I thought it was a good alignment. The finance minister who balanced the budget 5 times, who believes in balanced budgets, who believes in fiscal responsibility, who believes in economic growth, I thought it was a good alignment.
Right.
I was surprised, obviously, 3 days before the vote to discover that they didn't think so. They might have called us a year ago.
Right. They could have told you.
Could have told us a year ago. Chose not to. The challenge now, I suppose challenge, the interesting phenomenon today is that I've never seen in 30 plus years the same measure of frustration, anger, outrage, and people are asking me to consider other options. And will you run as an independent and give the Conservative Party wouldn't allow you to be on the ballot.
Right.
Will you take that step yourself?
Well, the platform that you, obviously, you share that same vision that the Conservative Party has, so your platform would be identical to what they've got. You were running or trying to run with them, so I think if you run as an independent, it's basically the same platform.
It's the things that they have been advancing. It's why I was comfortable I hadn't been a member of a federal political party
Right. Yes.
for 40 years.
Yeah.
I do my research, and I said, well, this is a group. They are advocating for a direction in government that I believe in, that I think the country needs right now, and I'm not going to change. And so, people say, well, why don't you take that message and present it to the people as an independent candidate? Okay, independents don't generally do very well in our system.
Right.
But I have to say, the level of frustration and the passion is making this a difficult decision.
Yeah, because it's not just you that's disappointed in this decision. Yeah. It's all of the people that were rallying behind you saying, we want Mike.
That is so much the case.
Yeah.
And to what extent, and the principle, of course, is important. I don't want to leave the impression that I am on this day resolved to it's a big decision, but I will say to those who have, I want to thank people obviously within Abbotsford and South Langley, but from across British Columbia, many of them political adversaries over the years.
Yeah.
People who have not, who have called, who have written and said, Mike, we've agreed with you, or we haven't always agreed with you, but the principles of democracy are important here. Right. And please consider taking that step. So in the days, the best thing, Sonia, is events are going to unfold, I think, with a lot of speed. So a decision will have to be made quickly.
Right. And I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know independents usually don't have that support because they don't have a giant political party behind them. But if your values align with those of the residents of Langley and Abbotsford, or South Langley and Abbotsford, I mean, that might be a good thing for them.
Yeah, that's the assessment. You know what my problem is?
You're too nice?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if people
guy.
say, you know, I'll tell you what, I am passionate about democracy. We got a crazy man as president in the US who's attacking our country.
Yeah.
And now more than ever, we need to rally around the democratic principles that he apparently doesn't believe in anymore. So,
Right.
and this for me transcends Conservative, Liberal, NDP. This is about Canadians coming together, standing together, respecting our institutions of democracy,
Right.
and saying to that megalomaniac bully,
Yeah.
we will not be intimidated. We will make ourselves strong in spite of your attacks. And so you can probably tell there's a part of me that maybe doesn't want to ride quietly into the night, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, the reason I said that you're a nice guy is because at the same time as you feeling like you've been not properly or fairly been assessed here, you're at the same time saying, congratulations to the other person. You know, good for him for getting the nomination, but you just want to know the reason behind it. You haven't been given a clear reason. The people that are supporting you also want a clear reason. And the people that actually voted for Sukhman Gill, they should also have that clarity. I mean, everybody needs to be very transparent with these decisions.
The dilemma, I think, for young Mr. Gill
Yeah.
is people will view his appointment as illegitimate.
Right.
And I say that guardedly, but
Of course.
they will say, well, hold on, there was another person, there was a competitor in that race
Right.
who you never had to square off against and put your respective views
Right.
to the test. So that and for him going forward, that's a difficulty.
Right.
Because it means, in a sense, many people will say his candidacy lacks legitimacy.
Right, and that's a bad association for him right away.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're at liberty to discuss further what you think actually took place, who you think the people that are involved in making these decisions or making these things happen. I don't know if you want to talk about it, if you feel comfortable, but you don't have to. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'm always hesitant to
Name names?
engage. Well, and to engage in speculation. I mean,
Yeah.
there's lots of theories about what took place. I don't have any evidence. I don't have
Yeah.
any proof. I know that at the end of the day, local Conservatives wanted Mike DeYoung to be on the ballot so that they could decide whether I would be their candidate.
Right.
Local Conservatives did not want, for reasons that only they can describe, Sukhman Gill to be on the ballot.
Right.
And again, I'm not privy to why they were hesitant about him being on the ballot. And someone or some small group in Ottawa decided to do exactly the opposite. And only they can offer an explanation or a rationale. And I'm not going to malign anyone. I'm not going to engage in speculation. But I will say I am disappointed.
Right, of course. And I mean, that is the classy approach, is to not try to slander or, these types of things. So good for you for keeping your standard.
Thank you. That's
Yeah. I mean, you could have come on here. We've had people come into the studio and say all sorts of stuff, whatever they want. Plus, we've seen videos. There's a few videos out there saying, about Sukhman Gill, and they're not your videos, but they're videos out there. When I was doing my research, I saw them, and you've kept it very classy. You haven't said anything negative about him. You've actually wished him well.
We are at a time when our country is under attack,
Yeah.
remarkably, by the president of the U.S.
Yeah.
We've got record level debt and deficits in our government. Our economy is not performing well. At the end of the day, Mike DeYoung getting thrown on the trash heap by the Conservative Party is not the single most important story. It's not, families in this country are suffering.
Yeah.
And that needs to be the focus, not the plight of some politician.
You're saying it's about Canadians. I appreciate that. So what does the future hold for you?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I never try to be coy, or there is a decision to be made.
Yes.
We've talked about that, and how people are urging me to allow myself to be presented.
Right.
Clearly not as a Conservative candidate, but in a different context. That's a decision that'll have to be made, presumably in the next few weeks, and I'm struggling with it.
Yeah.
I candidly, I am struggling with that decision.
Okay.
I'm under no illusions about what the prospects for an independent candidate is.
Yes.
They are generally not good.
Right.
And yet I also see and hear the passion in the voices of people who claim, I think, importantly and correctly, that the fundamental principles of democracy need to be protected.
Right.
And so I struggle with that. And it's springtime, and I got a lot of work to do on my little farm. So I've got a plan B, right?
Right. There you go, the plan B. But you want to do this mostly for the people, because you know that you feel like they also need that clarification. So you want to send a clear message, possibly, if you run independently, saying, yes, I'm the right candidate. We'll see what happens, what unfolds. I do want you to give a message to those that are watching. We have viewers in Punjabi, English, all sorts of different languages. You can approach all of those people right now. You can give them one message. Just look over at that camera right there, right into that camera.
Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to your viewers. Don't give up on democracy. This was a very disappointing thing for me, obviously, and for thousands of people who rallied together. But we need to strengthen our democracy. We need people to get involved. We need people to debate the issues within the context of our democratic process. And whether you're 16 years of age, or 60 years of age, or 80 years of age, don't allow an injustice like this to turn you off. Because then the people who perpetrate the injustice win. Stay involved. For whatever political party and whatever candidate, whoever you believe in, we're coming to an election in this country. Get involved. For God's sakes, get involved. And make your voice heard.
Thank you so much, Mike, for coming to the studio today and sharing your thoughts and being real with us. I really appreciate it. And I wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So that was our program for today, Khaas Mulakaat with Mike DeYoung. Let's see if he runs as an independent. I'll be excited to find out myself. So keep watching Sanjha TV. I'm your host, Sonia West. We'll see you again next time. Sat Sri Akal.